Welcome to Money for the Rest of Us, a personal finance show on money, how it works, how to invest it, and how to live without worrying about it. I'm your host, David Stein, and today is episode 114. It's titled, Money is Cheap, Freedom is Expensive. The title of today's episode was derived from a quote from a remarkable gentleman who passed away last week at the age of 87. For close to 50 years, this man, Bill Cunningham, rode his bike through the streets of New York City, camera in tow, often stopping at the intersection of 57th Street and 5th Avenue to take photos of ordinary people wearing interesting outfits. These photos were published in his weekly New York Times On the Street column and slideshow. His most recent piece ran only a few weeks ago. I have never seen an octogenarian move as fast as Cunningham as he worked to capture a shot, often running ahead of his subject to get a better view. You can watch him run and learn all about him on this fascinating documentary. It's called Bill Cunningham, New York. In there, they do a wonderful job of profiling Bill's frenetic pace, his infectious smile, and his joyful demeanor. Cunningham photographed people in the streets during the day, and at night he went to the city's charity events and galas in order to document what was going on, taking pictures. But he wasn't overly impressed with celebrities. In 2008, the French government bestowed the Legion of Honor on Cunningham, and in his acceptance speech, he said, "I'm not interested in the celebrities with their free dresses. It's the clothes, not the celebrities, and not the spectacle." Cunningham lived alone and never married. For decades, he resided in a small studio in Carnegie Hall, sleeping on a cot amidst his file cabinets filled with negatives. The bathroom, he didn't have a private bathroom. He would go down the hall to a public bathroom. He didn't go to movies or own a television. His passion was capturing the changing fashion and times. He said, "I don't work. I only know how to have fun every day. It's not work." He admitted he was peculiar. He got his first camera in 1967 as a gift. He was age 38, and he used it as a visual notebook, just following and observing and taking photos of people in the city. Previously, he had designed hats. He had his own design studio, but then got drafted into the military during the Korean War, served there, spent some time working as a journalist, but eventually got involved in photography, but always had a fashion or a focus on fashion. His focus was on the clothes. Cunningham deeply cared about the people he photographed. He wasn't a paparazzi, but an artist who sought to capture beauty, not embarrass people. He didn't take unflattering photos of people. He wanted to capture their authenticity and their essence. For a time, he worked for Women's Wear Daily, but when they published a series of his photographs, and in the captions on the spread that they did, they ridiculed the ordinary people in his photographs, but because they had the people that were wearing these fashion outfits, and then they had the models who were wearing the same outfits. And Cunningham was mortified because they had made fun of the people in the photographs. And he quit, and he never worked for Women's Wear Daily again. Cunningham said, "I did try to play a straight game, and in New York, that's almost impossible. To be honest and straight in New York, that's like Don Quixote fighting windmills." Cunningham described fashion as the armor to survive the reality of everyday life. I don't think you could do away with it. It would be like doing away with civilization. Besides fashion, Cunningham's armor for surviving was his faith. He attended church weekly. And when the filmmaker asked Cunningham about his religious observance, Cunningham, he was overcome with emotion. He couldn't speak for several minutes. Finally, when he composed himself, he said of his faith, "I think it's a good guidance in your life. It's something I need. Whatever it is you do, whatever you do as best you can to work things out, I find it very important." Although he admits when he attended church when he was young, all he did was look at the women's hats. Cunningham also valued his freedom. He said the most important thing was never to be owned, to be free. And here's the quote where I took the title of today's episode. He said, "Money is the cheapest thing. Liberty and freedom is the most expensive." To maintain his freedom, Cunningham lived simply. For many years, he refused to join the payroll of any one publisher, instead opting to be a freelancer. He only joined the New York Times as an employee when he got hit by a truck on his bike and decided that maybe he had to join a company so he could get health insurance. But this quote, "never to be owned," this was from a tape or a video of him in the early 80s, and it was after one of the publishers that he had had a close relationship got bought out, and they cut him a small check of the proceeds, and it'd been like a year, and he still hadn't cashed it. That's how little money meant to him, and they sort of asked him about that, and that's when it was just kind of on the street. It was just a passing comment. Never be owned. That's the key, to be free. Money is the cheapest thing. Liberty and freedom is the most expensive. Cunningham uses freedom to discover beauty as reflected in personal style. He gravitated to those who were not crowd followers or crowd pleasers, but who bravely express their individuality. When Cunningham accepted that award in France, his final words, and his voice cracked with emotion as he said it, he said, "It's as true today as it ever was. He who seeks beauty will find it."